Hello everyone. Sarah here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to partake in another Craft Roulette challenge. I believe it was 110. And I just thought I'd try doing this kind of live and then editing it afterwards. So pretty much you will kind of see how my brain works and the process that I go through to creating a card. So this week's criteria is it needs to have alpha stamp card, well, that's the project, forest colors, the element needs to go well together, and it has to have something pre-printed. Okay, so that is what the criteria is this week. Sorry, I'm just fixing my camera here. Oh, my setup. There we go. I'll have to keep an eye and see if that's glitching. Okay, so I don't have an alphabet stamp set. So right off the bat, that is a challenge for me. So I had to get a little bit more creative. I do have this die that I got from Simon Says Stamps back in 2020. I have not used it yet. So that is a stamp. So I'm hoping that will carry that. But then I need something with an alpha. And I believe we can get away with just using just words. Okay. Now, does it need to be a stamp? Because it's a stamp? Or can I get away with it from using a stamp die? Right? So that's where it gets a little tricky. Whatever works. I also pulled out this paper set that I got. I'm assuming it was from one of the Simon Says card kits. And so I'm thinking what goes well together is butterflies and flowers. So I'm going to try to knock that off with that. The pre-printed will be this pattern paper. And then the forest colors is going to be trying to get these darker muted colors. I mean, I can get away with any of these because it is a forest, but I'm going to go with the traditional, not a jungle, but more of a forest. So that is what I'm going to play with. Now what I need to figure out is what I'm going to do with this alpha stamp. So just give me a second and I'm going to think it through and then I'll be right back. It'd be nice to see if I can actually complete this within an hour. Okay, so let me get my card base. I'm going to create my card base here. I use, it's actually 120 pound paper. I like that. I just like a really solid card base for myself. So I will always put a little more into that. But that's just my preference. I just like the feel of a thicker card. Okay, so I am going to create an A2 size card here. Okay. So this is going to be challenging. If I only had an alphabet stamp. That would make it so much easier. Now, let me just... I'm going to have to cut these. Okay, so I did cut them out just to see what they look like, and I'm actually not impressed with these two. These don't really look like stamps to me. They're kind of... I don't know, they don't just have like a little bit of an indent, but this looks really close to a stamp, but it's kind of bigger. And then it dawned on me, I actually have other stamp. I forgot I have this infinity die. And so I wonder what... The only thing is, I like the size, the shape. I think these ones are kind of more rectangular. Yeah. That one's smaller. That's more the size I was looking for. So let's see what these two look like. Let's grab another piece of scrap paper. Okay, so these are actually much more different than this one. This one actually has a lot more of a, not a scallop, it's more of the opposite of the scallop. It's the indent of it. And this one looks more scallopy. So, maybe I'll do a mixture of both of them. So I'm going to put these two away. I do not like these small ones. They will probably never be used ever again. And I'll keep these two out just in case. Okay. So still, I'm just in the planning phases. So I'm not putting anything together. This is me playing around, trying to see what I have available. Okay, so I cut it out. I was trying to think of these ideas, make it more like 2 stamps, but I don't like this. This is the smallest. This is the biggest stamp size I could use that wouldn't cut over another like line. As you can see, it's pretty thin, but it's really cut close to the U. I really don't like that, so I'll keep it, but I don't think I'm going to use it. But I really like this butterfly, so I'm going to snip that one out. Okay, so I've cut the butterfly out. I have a stamp. I'm going to find something different than that. And I may not use that, but I just want to not waste it. It's just like these flowers. I really don't want to waste that. So if I could find something else to use that for, that would be nice, because it matches the stamp very well. So if we start using this, so far it's looking pretty plain. So this is just my way of working. Now, these colors kind of match as well, so I might want to use the bottom here with the butterfly. So I'm going to just cut this, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to start off with an A2 size. I decided to go this way, so it's going to be 5.5 by 4.25. I just really like all these pieces here. It's kind of fun. So I still have my sentiment here, which is getting very, very hidden there. So I have to figure a way of lifting that or separating it. Pre-printed is done. Forest colors, yep, I think we're getting good. So I also have this die here that I received recently, and it spells U, so I can easily use this as well. I do like the black, but still, it's too bold. It seems to be taking away, so we'll need to dumb that down a bit, I think. Okay. So I'm still not getting anything. I'm still kind of, still not feeling it. So I've now tried seeing what it would look like with a dark green base. So if I were to kind of have it just giving it a little bit of a matte layer, see what that looks like. It's not looking too bad. So those colors match very well. I might ink that up. And so I'm also thinking maybe adding a little bit of a black background to this, just so it stands out a little more. Ideally, I would have liked to have had the exact same stamp die in a bigger size, but this is the biggest stamp size. So we have that. Potentially green. I don't want to cut this yet, just in case I change my mind. I do have my black sentiment, which is tying in with the black background of that stamp. So now what I've tried is I've actually stretched the stamp die. It's actually supposed to only be this big, but I've elongated it just by cutting on both sides. It is bright though, so I don't know what the idea was, is just continuing with the stamp theme. But I think that might be a little too bright of white. If I could do that with maybe some a more subtle background. I think I'm just gonna bite the bullets, and I'm gonna use this green here. So I'm just gonna trim my paper back just a tiny bit, like maybe 1/8 of an inch off. And so what that will do is make it so that there is skinniest green line for now. And I'm just going to add a little bit more just to, pretty much what I'm doing is I'm taking baby steps, because I really don't know, I don't have a vision in my head yet on what I'm going to be making. So I'm just taking really small baby steps, and then you can kind of get an idea of how I'm making my cards. I'm still learning. There's so many things out there that I'm just not familiar with. And then, of course, I'm always battling with wasting paper. And this could be one of those cases where I'm done and I'm like, you know what? I don't like this, and I have to start over again. In which case, I will edit this video and just show some of the work that was being done and then scrapping it. So that's created a little bit more distress around the edges, just so that it's not so sharp, like a sharp stop. This paper already was doing a pretty good job at it, but I'm just wanting to add a little bit more. Okay, so I'm pretty certain I'm going to be doing it like that with the green on the outside. I might actually tear up the edges here, because just add a little bit of distress. We'll see. And I might ink up the green. Who knows? Let me just add a little bit lightly onto the stamp, just so that it's coordinating with the background. I know it's not necessary because I do have that black, but you know, if I don't put the black on, it does get blended. It does blend or camouflage with the back. But I'm not a big fan of the black either, because it's just a block. So I'm still tossed on that. I might lift this up. If I do, it would kind of look like that. I'd maybe a little bit lower than that, but. And of course, then I still have this guy, which I can try inking up a bit too. I'm thinking about gussing it up because it's still pretty bland. Because this is all kind of mixed media looking, grungy. And you just don't want this to be so plain, because then it doesn't really match the rest. Similar to the letters Y-O-U, they can't just be plain black. It just won't work, in my opinion anyways. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Now I would like to get kind of more stamps. If I had the exact same paper, I would cut the same images on stamps and then paste them back down again. But I don't. I only have one sheet, so we can't do that. But I do want to kind of find more sheets where I can create stamps and just kind of stick them around. And I kind of want to have images and stuff, because I want them to look like stamps. Right? We need to ink it up a bit, because, of course, this is the wrong side, but I don't think anyone's going to notice that it's backwards. I may not use it, but what it needs, though, is something. If I'm going to use this, I'll need something else. Like maybe a butterfly on top. Yeah, that's kind of cute. Let's take the first step of gluing our first piece. And you know what? If I don't like it, I can always just remove it. But I won't put too much glue on. Just enough. I'm going to have that a little bit off center. That's not how I had it. How did I have it? Ah, like that. There we go. So we can figure a placement for that. I kind of want to have a little more subtle backgrounds. Maybe if I take one of these stamps here, because these are floral, if I take one of these and just kind of ink it up and try to use, I could try using the same vintage photo, or maybe I'll use antique linen, see how that looks. And I'm just going to kind of just add a little bit. Second generation. Second generation is not working because it's just not showing anything. So I'll just add a little bit, not too much pressure. It's right here. And what that's doing is just adding just a little bit more texture, just so that it's not too solid of one color. Let's put it that way. I'm going to use the same flower, and I'm going to try something that's kind of similar in size, because I noticed that this and this are very similar in size. So I'm going to go over it and just heat set that so it looks like that flower actually has some texture to it. Let's see how that looks. I will get to my Versamark ink. I'm going to use the exact same flower again. I probably should have wiped it off before using that. And I'm just going to try to just go as much as possible over top of the same image. Okay. And I'm going to just do that one more time. Maybe over top of this. Once again, I'm going to use this other flower. I'm not going to worry about this, the stem. And I'm just going to do it just kind of over here. Like that. We'll see how that turns out. Who knows? I mean, if you're an expert at this, you know what's coming. But for me, I have no clue. I'm going to use, it looks like brass embossing powder. And I'm just going to cover that. And here. And here. Okay. Like I said, I don't need the best coverage. I just want to make sure that it shows something. Okay, so as you can see, I've created a little bit of distress there. That's kind of neat. I like that. So it's just adding a little bit to it. Oh, sorry about that. It's just adding a little bit of texture or style to this background. I don't think it's taking away too much. Usually, if it's not, if the light's not shining on it, you don't even notice it. Maybe you do. I don't normally always do this, and this might be a mistake, but I kind of feel like doing the same thing around this. I want to make this stamp kind of look antique-y. And the way I do that is I just sloppily just kind of do that. So there's no right way of doing this. You just make a mess. That's all I'm doing. So this is what I'm talking about. So you have the gold on the tip, so it's really nice and elegant. Just kind of like gives it well, brass actually. Okay, so let's bring this back. So that's going to give it a nice little bit of a gold accent. I'm not going to worry about this other one. I don't care too much. I could do the same thing around the letters, but I don't want to do it too much. So let's just keep it at that for now. So I have it inked. I have my stamps. I wonder if I want to create any more little stamps like I did with this one. Do I want to create any more? It's nothing too fancy. Just a little bit of wording on it. I'm wondering if I just kind of I don't want them to stand out too much, right? I just kind of want them to be stamps on the paper. I may not use them, but I may. We'll see. Okay, so I also cut out these little butterflies here from the pattern paper that I had right here. So it was pattern paper that I just cut out some of the butterflies just in case I want to add a little bit of embellishments. So I'm just looking through the paper pad to see what we have. I could try to find another piece of this green to bring it in. That is a possibility. I can also use something like this because it's already being used on something right here. So if I did that, keeping in mind that there's going to be a banner there, I'd make it skinnier because it's taking up too much of my background. But it's already looking a bit better. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to cut it smaller and then see how we go from there. So it will look something like that. And what that's going to do is just create a little bit of a separation from the background. And once again, I will also, I'm not going to heat set it with embossing powder. I'm just going to add a little bit along the edges. Okay, so we got that a little bit inked. We got my U. It all begins with, this is starting to take shape. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to just glue these letters down now. I'm going to start on the end. I'm going to start on the left side, on the end of it, because I don't want to go all the way to the right side, because I think I'm going to tuck it under. This die did come from the Stamp Market, I believe it's called. It was part of a Crop and Create conference or seminar or class, whatever you want to call it. It's called Crop and Create, and it was earlier this year, and I attended it, and I really enjoyed it. And this is one of the dies that came in the collection, in the kit. Well, it's not really a kit, it's a bunch of classes. I believe Pink Fresh is doing one similar, and they are doing theirs very soon. I think it's in May. And in fact, as of today, they sent out an email saying they have more spaces. But by the time I get this uploaded, it's going to be too late, I think, for you to check it out. So what I'm also going to do before I'm going to glue it down here, I'm just going to distress the edges, making it a little torn, a little ripped. I just like how this kind of looks with this type of paper. Okay, so that's good. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue this down. This is really nice paper on the back end. You know, I have a mixed feeling about double-sided pattern paper. I love it because I don't like paper sitting in my craft room for too long, and so this helps me maintain it, because if I cut the other side, then I don't have duplicate of it. On the other side, that's exactly the problem. If you like both, you gotta pick. You gotta pick one. So sometimes it's bittersweet. But yeah, I don't like keeping paper in my craft room as long as I don't like keeping craft paper, or I don't like keeping pattern paper in my craft room if I can help it. And so when it's double-sided, it can go quicker, if that makes any sense. Okay, where's my card base? Actually, I'm going to ink the edge of this too, just so it's not, I just want it so that it's not so solid of a color. So we'll put that down and make sure this is flush. That looks good. And then we'll take the rest of the adhesive off on all the edges and in the center. Okay. There we go. We are getting there. We are almost at the finish line. Now it's just time to dress it up. Okay, so I'm going to have it like that so we can just glue that right down. I'm not going to prop this one up. I want to keep some of that butterfly showing, so I'm just going to leave a little bit on the left there. Okay, and that's going to go here. And so I'm just going to put this up because I know I'm going to want it like that. Nice and crooked. And then I will glue this one down, make it flush with the card. You could add a piece of cardstock underneath that to lift it, but it's pretty flat. It's not lifting. Okay. Now, to get my butterflies back in there, and do I want these stamps? I mean, that's kind of fun. Let's do that. That looks kind of fun. And then we'll add this one. So it's kind of like a row of stamps. And I just didn't want this one close to the banner because it's the exact same background. And I have these other little butterflies that can just be plopped around. So I'm going to grab my foam tape. I'm going to prop some of these little guys up. Okay, so I have the foam tape on these, and I just got to figure out where I want to put them. Maybe 3 here, and 2 up there. Yeah, let's do that. Wherever it looks good there. Yeah, maybe I'll put them there. Cute. The only other thing I like to do is add some little circles to my cards. Just because I have so many of these little gold guys, I like to use them. I'll just do that. So kind of making a flow. That's kind of what I'm working at here. Okay. And I'll use my Simon Says Crafty Tacky glue, and we'll just glue these down. Just 1, 2. There we go. Just like that. I think I am going to cull it. I think I'm pretty happy with this. It definitely took longer than an hour. that's that's definitely the case. But let's see, where's my criteria? Okay. So alpha stamp card, like I said, I don't have any alphabet stamps. I just so unless it was like I was able to use chipboard ones, I have those, but not stamp. So what I did was I made a stamp with words in it. So I put some words. If we zoom in here, I put some stamped words in here just in case I have to have a stamped version of it. Here is more on a stamp, and then I just added stamps to the card so that at least it's covering all the stamped area, or covering the stamp. Forest colors, I didn't go as green and as I wanted, but I would say kind of browns and greens. This is pretty good at in a blue sky. I think I nailed it. I think that's pretty good. Goes well together. Flowers and butterflies. So that's why I did that. And pre-printed. All the pattern paper is pre-printed. So that is that. I think this is a good completion. I'm happy with it. And yeah. So anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you enjoyed this card, this interpretation of the criteria, and I hope it has created some inspiration for you. So whether you create cards this weekend or just enjoy the outdoors or be with family, whatever it is, I do hope you have a wonderful time. And until the next time, have a wonderful day and take care.